Hey, Shrewdness fans. Welcome to the podcast this week.
Woo!
Chiz and Dex are here. I'm Prue. We're going to talk about week 6 results and week 7 outlook for your Guillotine leagues. Everybody still safe?
Woohoo! Got my head.
We're still hanging on, baby.
Yep.
Still rolling.
This is a much less stressful week for me. Didn't have to sweat it.
I know. I didn't even have to really get into any. I didn't even have to do Sunday night sweats. It was pretty good. After the early games, I kind of was in a decent situation, mostly because two other teams were god-awful last week. I think they set historic lows, which was very helpful for everybody else. So
that's
didn't
right.
Have to start sweating it all. I mean, the third from the bottom team should have been paranoid going into Monday night. He got to put his feet up early on Sunday.
Yeah.
So it was kind of one of those weeks. So it wasn't a great week. I think Chiz and I were pretty close. I think we kind of low hundreds again.
Yeah, I didn't even get 100, which I'm kind of shocked by. But I had Tyler Conklin going to the last game, and he didn't do jack crap. So, and then I have my Brokeback Mountain Justice Hill, who I just can't quit.
You got to quit him.
Keep putting him in there. And
he doesn't love you back.
He does not. I had a couple big games out of him early, and this is a great lesson for everybody in Guillotine. Past results are not indicative of future results, and I keep thinking I'm going to get that big pop from him, and I'm certain as soon as I bench him, he will.
He pops every week for 0.
Right.
I knew I was safe, and I chose between Braylon Allen and Tyler Conklin to play on Monday night. And I was loving the Braylon Allen touchdown until it got called back for a holding call.
Oh, yeah, and that was like a lousy holding, too.
It was pretty bad.
Why, and unnecessary, too. What are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
No
so that was
for it.
An almost, but not quite. But I was still safe, so no big deal.
So who did well for you? Who kind of teetered off for you, Pruitt?
Well, so I had thrown Deebo Samuel under the bus as my Shrewdness spud 2 weeks ago, but he broke out 20 points on Thursday night, so I started the week out good.
That is always nice.
Yeah, so that was helpful for sure.
Yeah, if you have a player on Thursday and it gets you're either in the sweats really quick, you're in the I feel pretty good.
Yes.
It can be a false sense of security, don't get me wrong, but it's better to get that 15, 20 points out of your Thursday guy and you got a little buffer now. Now if someone else throws a 5 or a 7 or
that's right.
God forbid a goose egg, you're all right. But boy, when you start with 2 or 3 on Thursday, you're like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Climbing uphill.
Here we go.
My wheelbarrow uphill with square wheels. It's
absolutely
not going to be fun.
Yeah. It's not good to have a guy start and do sub 5 on Thursday night because then you're like,
no.
Ooh, this could get hairy.
I still had Saquon had his worst game of the year.
Oh boy. So, that was not good. I was watching that hoping it wouldn't matter because that means as well 7.4 points out of the first round pick. I mean 54
that ain't gonna cut it.
Yards, 54 total yards and 2 catches.
Whew.
Brutal. Who's calling these plays in Philly? Come on, man.
Bad.
Feed the beast.
If I told you that Saquon had 7.4, Marvin Harrison had a big fat 0, went out with an injury. Braylon Allen had 0.8. Lad McConkey had 8. You would have thought Pruitt's in trouble.
Put dogs on.
But I also had Debo. I had Trey McBride. Tomorrow I had another good game, and C.J. Stroud. So the 4 of them came through, and I ended up with 90-something points. Almost 90. 90.5.
Same for me. I had Stroud. He had a good game, 3 touchdown passes. And then I had, a guy that I've really just been super happy with this year is Tony Pollard.
He's week in, week out, man. He's kind of like a closet fantasy MVP for a lot of teams. They got him
just steady.
Yeah.
He's just super steady. And I didn't really expect that out of him because he really wasn't that in Dallas. But man,
I think it's because Will Levis is so worthless
Yeah.
They're having to truly lean on him. Whereas
that's right.
You could kind of not even. He could be an afterthought in Dallas last year because Dak was throwing up 4,500 yards and CD's getting like 130, 40 catches or whatever the hell he had last year.
Right.
You can kind of be an afterthought, but in Tennessee, that is not happening.
Dallas is extremely pass heavy, so get him out of that environment.
He's been, and in Tennessee they like to run the ball, and then I had the Slim Reaper back, Devontae Smith, for me, and got a touchdown. So that kind of gave me all I really needed, but disappointed with the bottom half of my bench, and I gotta get some changes in the bottom half, or it may not be long for Chiz over here.
Yeah. So my week was kind of helpful from the get-go with Jordan Love coming through with another great game, 4 touchdowns. I lost James Cook this week, but the good thing is Devin Singletary didn't come back, so Tyrone Tracy got to play again.
That's right.
I just plugged him right into that spot, and he came in with 22 points.
He's had a really good couple weeks.
Yeah. So we both picked up our Shrewdness sleepers last week of Jalen Polk and Demario Douglas. So I picked up Lewis's version of Polk. I thought he'd do well too, but he did not. He had 1 catch for 4 yards, whereas you picked up Demario Douglas and promptly put him on your bench.
Yeah, that was a good move.
Yeah, and he cranked out 21 points on your bench for you. But
awesome.
So that 1.4 didn't help. But I have gone with the hoarding tight end strategy, which would be like, Dex, that's stupid. Tight ends suck this year. Well, not if you have good ones. And so I've got Brock Bowers, who I think is tight end 1. I got Trey McBride, who I believe is tight end 2. And then Evan Ingram, I was waiting to see because I didn't want to pull a stupid hammy in London early. So I wanted to see what he looked like. I just wanted to see one game. Game 1, 10 for 102. I'm like, all right, well, golly, I guess I'll put you in the lineup next week. And then I still have Kyle Pitts. He did all right, though. So only 3 catches, but he got 70 yards out of them. And when you're up 38-20 on Carolina, you're not going to get the ball very much. So 10 points, I'll take 10 points all day. Like we said, you're only looking for 9 points a player in this point in the season. And we get a couple good ones, like Jordan Love, Tyrone Tracy, 25 and 22, you're kind of off to a pretty good cushion at that point. So you can absorb a Jalen Polk 1.4.
Right.
But moving into this next week, though, I think everybody's got their players for the most part. There'll be a couple missing because I think our bye week that we talked about was going to be Chicago and Dallas. So there's definitely some players, but it's only 2. These other weeks have 4+ bye week teams.
Right.
Those are going to be the ones that really kill you. Everybody can usually absorb a player. So I think this week shouldn't be too big for fantasy players. DeAndre Swift's probably a big one that's out for Chicago.
Right.
DJ Moore. And if you actually started Caleb Williams last week, that was his best game by far. But I don't think anyone's really – I think he's still a free agent in our league.
There's a team in my league that has Swift and Williams.
So really?
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah.
Well, he had a good week last week. But, yeah, I think all in all, I think this week's not going to be that bad for the bye week. CeeDee Lamb hasn't really been doing that much. So if you have him, maybe he needs a week off. You've been getting a bye week every week out of him the last couple weeks. Anyway.
Right.
So what do you guys see going into this week for your teams or just kind of on the schedule in general? It's good games, good players to look at.
It's good to get back. We've had 2 weeks of Bye-Mageddons. So this is your chance to get whole again. You probably got guys on your bench that could still help you out at this stage. Yeah. But the other thing is, this is when you need to start thinking about trades, and you need to start thinking about guys that have been on bye. We've talked about that, but there's a lot of value in guys that have their bye behind them. I took some guys with early buys on purpose, kind of risking the fact that I could lose one of those weeks, and I've survived now. I had 4 and 5 on my schedule, week 4 and 5. I was like, man, if I can get through those weeks, or 5 and 6, we just finished 6, didn't we? 5 and 6, and I was like, if I can get through those, I'm pretty much clear sailing through 12. So think about that and look at your trades.
Yeah, because now all those guys are more valuable if you have someone that's pretty decent that's expendable. If you have someone else,
right.
But I think that is the risk, but it's also that part of the season where you don't need to score as many points.
Right.
And so when you lose a 20-point player in November, that hurts.
Yes.
When you lose them, it still hurts in September, don't get me wrong, or October. but there's enough people out there that are getting enough, and you don't have to score 120. You need to score about 80.
Yep.
Right.
And so you just need a couple dudes to do
Yeah,
well.
the talent
and
is all still the talent's all still watered down.
That's
the
exactly it, because it's still
7 or 8 weeks.
13-person league, 14-person league. You can kind of weather those because there's still just thin talent across the board.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
right.
That's a good thing. But I do like having the week 12 ones too, because it lets you just roll until then, which is what I think. Pruitt, you got a lot of those guys, right?
I got 11 and 12 are my kind of pinch points, but I've been guarding against that and slowly looking for opportunities to pick up guys that have already been through their bye week.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and
I'm managing
trade
it
one of those guys
early.
too.
Yeah.
For a post-buy guy, and then not have to worry about it at all.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Depends on what your bench is looking like, but if you pick up equal or pretty damn close, it's not a bad idea.
I got CJ Stroud and Nico Collins if he comes back or when he comes back on week 14.
Okay.
Other than that, I've already got my tight end situation figured out, and I've got 2 other week 11 buys. 3 if you count Baker Mayfield. He's my backup quarterback. So anyway, I think I can manage it. I'll probably make one more move to avoid having 3 players on a bye week at the same time.
Yeah.
But I purposely did the opposite, which is I took players with later buys.
Yeah.
And then looking to kind of jump backwards and grab some guys that have already had their bye to shore up my team so that I can ride through the bye weeks.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's all kind of like whatever you want to do from a risk tolerance standpoint. Either way, you're going to sweat somewhere. It's just a matter of where you want to sweat, right? So it's we're heading into some interesting times. The fact that we have 4 guys on the podcast here, all of us have our heads, is honestly pretty rare. So we're feeling pretty good about the season. But any week, as we saw in our league, Dex and I's league right now, man, you have a couple injuries in the first quarter.
Ooh, it's curtains, man.
Yeah, that could be bad.
Bye-bye.
And he's still the guy that got cut. He still only needed Jamar Chase to have a pretty good game.
Yeah.
And he just had an average game.
Right.
And that you can't have your top pick be average.
That's right.
Right.
Usually, I mean, Saquon was average for us, but when you have to have someone else come out. But I think he had Marvin Harrison get concussed before he got a ball.
That's right.
And I think he had one other injury too that really hurt.
I do too. I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Olave maybe?
Well, I think Olave didn't do anything either, but I don't think he got hurt. Did he?
No, he got a concussion.
He got concussed.
He got concussion too?
Yeah, he got concussed. I don't remember when it was in the game.
Oh, yeah. So he had one catch for 5 yards, but fumbled it, I think. And then I think that was the one.
Yeah, because he was he ended up negative points.
Yeah, he ended up negative 0.5, which is again better than Kyle Pitts normally, but still. Marvin Harrison gave him a goose, so out of 2 really good wideouts, he got negative 0.5. And that is the recipe for Chopville.
Totally.
And, yeah, it's just unfortunate. He had a pretty decent team, but it's what it is, man. That's what makes Guillotine. You can be good, but
that's right.
The fantasy guys will come get you.
Yeah, so I had my rough week last week. The guy who had so I looked at the power rankings or whatever in our league, and it was me and this one other guy that were tied at the top, and he went out this week. So
he did.
Wow. Yeah,
What happened to him?
Let me pull up his
Probably
team.
Harrison. Well, no, you have Harrison.
I had Harrison.
You took the 0.
He had a couple of bad bye situations. He had Cook.
Yeah, that one hurt.
And at the last minute threw in their 3rd string running back.
Ty Johnson.
Right.
Ty Johnson.
Everybody thought was going to get more carries. I thought he was going to get Ray Davis.
And he actually started.
Sure.
Like he started the game, but anyway. Yeah, he had a bad week. He had Jahmyr Gibbs, who did not have a great week.
No, it's all going to David Montgomery, man. I feel like the bell cow. I mean, someone got paid last week, and it wasn't Jamar Gibbs. It was David Montgomery.
Yeah.
But I still think Gibbs will just
Mike Evans had a average week or less than average.
Yeah.
So just
because he had that annual twice a week game, man, or whatever the hell it is. Whenever he goes against the New Orleans Saints in Lattimore, He doesn't do well. He has lost each and everything. He hasn't scored a touchdown in forever. I think he has like 8 total catches in 2 seasons.
It's super weird because Mike Evans is a machine.
But not against Marcus Lattimore.
That's his kryptonite.
It is.
He also had Dallas Goedert, who got hurt.
Oh, yeah.
And Kyler Murray, who had a rough game. So a lot of bad things happen all at once, and he went from a very strong team to out. So
that's what happens.
I feel his pain, but I'm thankful.
Yes, but at the same time, haha.
Yeah. Now I have the strongest team by far.
That's right. So now I'm feeling pretty good. I just want to put this out there into the podcast universe. I'm taking any and all offers for Zeke Elliott. So if anyone is interested in Zeke, I heard he's rejuvenated.
He looks fresh.
He's lost some weight this last week.
If you need a solid 3-point performance every week,
you could Zeke will fall forward, 2 or 3 times a game, and maybe
get knocked back.
Maybe that will be on the goal line sometime this year. I don't know.
No way.
Week 1, it was once.
Yeah, that one time in that one place. That's it.
Right.
All right, so let's jump into our Shrewdness sleepers for this.
Shrewdness sleeper.
Let's try and get our peeps out there, some options. We'll go through last week. We'll kind of cover what we've been doing. So we'll have our track record.
Yeah, and give some back story here.
All
okay,
right.
Sleepers are less than 40% ownership. Okay,
right.
And therefore, I mean, if we hit 25-30% of the time, that's stinking good. So that's the context
for a player that nobody else generally doesn't. Nobody else wants.
That's right.
Generally not rostered. But desperate times call for desperate measures. These are guys you can probably snag and should turn in an average performance for you.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So you got injuries or buys. If you're starting Dak or Caleb Williams, God help you if you are. But hey, he had a great week. I don't like him, but he's doing well. So last week, our Shrewdness sleepers. So we had Lewis took Jalen Polk, who I thought was gonna be a good pick.
Me too.
But he only ended up with 1 catch for 4 yards. Who knew? I mean, Drake May's gonna find targets. I took Demario Douglas also for New England. He is the one that Drake May threw to. So that ended up
he is the one. That's his guy, evidently.
That was Linus's blanket. So Demario Douglas is Linus's blanket, and it looked great. So I think,
and he's a hit.
Yeah, so 6 for 92 with a touchdown. So he delivered 21.2 points.
There we go.
You threw him in your lineup last week for
that's huge for a sleeper.
For a bye week or a flex play, he had to sneak in there. And then we had Pruitt. He went with Adonai Mitchell, which we kind of thought he'd do well as Flacco stayed in again, but he ended up coming through with just 2 catches for 9 yards. I didn't watch the game, so I don't know if he had more targets and drops or anything. But
he had 4 targets. I don't know if he had any drops or anything, but just they didn't work.
Just wasn't a big part of the game plan.
Like we talked about, Indianapolis has a ton of wide receiving.
Yeah, and they were all healthy.
Mediocrity.
Yep.
So it was all downs this week.
Yeah, that's the thing. So Mitchell, the reason he probably didn't have as good a week as what we were predicting is that Michael Pittman was on the verge of the IR at the beginning of last week when we were recording this.
Right.
And Josh Downs was heavily questionable, towing on doubtful. And then they said Joe Flacco's playing one more week, and they both got miraculously healthy, just like Devontae Adams' hamstring, now that he's with the Jets.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Miraculous healing because Joe Flacco's playing and not
Anthony Richardson.
It's because he's just – I don't know, man. You can take it for what it is, but suddenly these guys are not going to the IR. We're not going to play in our more week of Joe.
It's just an observation.
And so
just an observation.
It threw Mitchell all the way down the list again. And frankly, Alec Pierce, I think he threw up a 0. So he was playing 2. So he got a 0. Mitchell 2. Yeah, 2 for 9. Not real great. But regardless, that's the third one. Then Chisholm took Daniel Jones last week. And again, met our standard, so he didn't have a great week.
Still not happy with it, but it did meet the standard.
Yep, so 11.8 points if you had to fill in, if you had Patty and you need to get some points. He didn't throw a 0 for it. So 56 rush yards, I think, and 205 pass yards. Just ain't getting in the end zone. I think losing, again, Malik Neighbors for the week probably didn't help him out. They just didn't really get a lot going on offense for the Giants. But so 2 for 4 last week for our Shrewd sleepers.
Not bad. Not bad at all. That puts us at 4 for 9.
4 for 9. So we're shooting 44% on getting at least 10 points in that slot.
That's terrific. So
at least 9 points.
9 points. 9 points. Anyway. Yeah.
That's right.
We'll up it as the season goes, but
that's right. So this week, I think we're the same thing, right? 9.5 points. Is that what we're targeting?
Yeah, I think historic cutoff line's like 72 to 74 points, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So you still need about 9 points from each of your spots to stay alive.
So same target this year or this week.
Chisholm, get us started.
Yes. So I am going with a matchup in the great state of Ohio, the Battle of Ohio, Cleveland Browns versus Cincinnati Bengals, 2 wretched football teams at this point in time.
One more wretched than the other.
One more wretched than the other. I believe in I can't believe I'm going to say this, Dante Foreman as my shrewdness sleeper this week. Dante Foreman got fed a lot this past week. Jerome Ford got hurt. I don't think Ford's going to be back. I think Foreman's going to see the primary share of the ball. He and Strong are kind of the backups. Some rumors about Nick Chubb coming back. I was
going to say, what about Nick Chubb rumors?
Even if he comes back, he's not going to get many carries. I don't think he's, they'll kind of like maybe spot him in a little bit. So I still like Foreman, because I don't like the Bengals defense. So I think, and Deshaun Watson literally can't throw a forward pass. So I think right now you should be handing the ball off to whatever spud is in your backfield. And I think that is going to be Dante Foreman most of the time. So he's going to sneak in for a touchdown and probably 60, 70 yards. That's what I'm thinking.
That sounds pretty good. Padog, who do you got?
All right. I'm going to another terrible football team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Drake May actually looked pretty solid in his debut.
He did.
3 touchdowns.
Threw the ball downfield, hit Douglas many times, as we talked about. He's got a matchup with the Jacksonville Jaguars this week.
Another excellent team. The Jacksonville 2.
The Jacksonville 2 defense, which is the most ineffective defense in the history of football. It's
fantastic. So the reason I like Drake May this week is that Jacksonville cannot pressure the quarterback. They're like last in the league or second to last in pressures. And for a rookie quarterback, you put pressure on them, they're going to screw up, right? So
totally.
I see him being able to stay in the pocket a little better than you would expect on most weeks. And even though he's a rookie, he's going to find some targets downfield.
I mean, he's a rookie, but he's playing Jacksonville, which is like playing Vanderbilt.
And we just saw what Caleb Williams, also a rookie, just did to them last week. So
that's right.
That was also a rookie throwing 300-plus yards and 4 touchdowns. So
So
I don't know if it'll be that good, but I like the pick, Prue. I like it.
Me too.
You're super desperate for a quarterback.
That's right,
man. This week.
So Dex, who you got as your shrewdest sleeper?
So I am going to go with Demario Douglas. I'm going back to the well because he's still only 33% owned. And again, against that Jacksonville 2 defense, which is god-awful, that gives up 300 yards a week to any quarterback that shows up. I'm going to go the safety blanket. I'm going to Linus's blanket.
Yep.
And I think Drake May is going to feed him again. I think he gets probably 8 to 10 catches.
I think you're right.
They aren't going to be huge. I think he's going to get 80 to 100 yards again, and he might fall in the end zone for one of those. But I think he's a lock for at least 10 to 12 points. And heck, if he goes past that, fantastic, because you're probably filling him in for CeeDee Lamb or DJ Moore, or Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. He's going to be one of those spots you're filling. I think he can fill that easy. So
I agree.
I like Demario Douglas again this week. I'm going back to the well 2 in a row. So he was, I think, 20% owned last week. So he's up to 33. So
this might be the last week you could get him out there, guys.
It. So if you don't get him now, I think he's going to be 50, 60% after this, because Drake May is probably going to look really good after this week.
Yeah.
So that's my shrewdness sleeper, Demario Douglas. Going to the well one more time.
Yep.
So
Lewis is out this week, so we're only going to have 3 picks, but for shrewdness sleepers, but we'll keep track of those and keep posting them every week. And feeling good about this week's picks for sure. All of them below 40% in Guillotine Fantasy.
Then I want to throw out some other ones of interest I like. So those are the ones we're going with. That's on record. But other ones you should consider is Justin Herbert at Arizona. So if you need to fill in for either Dak or Campbell, or if your other quarterbacks just suck or have a bad matchup, Justin Herbert is going at Arizona, which hasn't had the greatest defense either. And while he's not going to throw up a ton, he's not going to hurt you. I think he's probably going to at least meet that standard of 10 to 12 points. Matt Stafford is going to be home against Las Vegas. Again, not the toughest one. Cooper Kupp may be back, so we'll see. And even if he's not, Jordan Whittington showed he could do some stuff, and Demarcus Robinson. So they still got enough to throw to. And he always hits Kyron Williams for a handful of stuff. So Stafford could be a good one too. So Herbert and Stafford for quarterbacks. Running backs got a slew. We already talked about Dante Foreman.
Ray Davis.
Ray Davis is going to be a good one. He's going to be home against Tennessee. So James Cook, again, owning him, I'm keeping a very keen eye on the situation. But I'm on one site that says he's already out for this week. And then another one says he's questionable. So he might have already been knocked out. I just haven't got the right feed. But if James Cook is out, Ray Davis at 32% is going to be good. So I would pick him up. He looked phenomenal last night. Estime for Denver. They have not had much going. They finally get him back. I think he came back this week and played a handful of snaps, but they're looking like they want to do way more. They're going to be at New Orleans. He's only 4.8% owned, so I don't know if you want to go that far down. I just keep an eyeball on that this week. Yeah. Another one, if you're a Kamara owner, Kendry Miller. If Kamara ends up, he's just building up minor injuries. But at some point, there's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And if Kamara doesn't play, Kendry Miller is going to be a good one to pick up. He's only 4.4% owned. They'll be home against Denver, which is a tough matchup, but is what it is. He's going to get those dump-offs that Kamara normally get. And finally, the last one I like for running backs is Garindo from San Francisco. So Jordan Mason, who's filling in for CMC because Elijah Mitchell's out.
Right.
He's going down the list, but he's explosive. So 4.1% owned San Fran. Their problem is that they're going to be home against Kansas City, who I believe is boasting one of the top run Ds in the NFL right now.
Yes.
And that's going to be a tough matchup. But if you just need volume, and if Jordan Mason doesn't play with that shoulder, which I don't think he's going to play. He was in a non-contact jersey today, just running routes.
Yeah.
But he might as well have had his arm in a sling, man. He wasn't taking any handoffs or doing anything. So Garindo could be a nice one. Just keep your eyeballs on the injury report this week. But I think a number of those guys could be pretty decent.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else you guys kind of like, just as honorable mentions?
An honorable mention that I had was Noah Brown.
Okay, yeah.
Noah Brown, wide receiver for Washington.
Yep. Like him.
I mean, he got target. He's only owned at 2.2% of leagues.
Yeah.
And he's their number 2 wide receiver. I mean,
absolutely.
He got 8 targets last week. I mean, he only got 4 catches, but
he gets 4 catches every single game.
Right. I'm kind of shocked that he's so far down in ownership, given what they've done. He doesn't get in the end zone, but it's one of those deals where it's like eventually it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Law of averages says he'll
I mean, he's catching the ball. He's catching the ball as much as he is. I feel like he's going to get in the end zone. So I like him a lot.
So the opposite end of the wide receiver spectrum is Juju, who went from nothing to like 40-something% owned now.
That's right.
46, I think I saw. Yeah, 46.6.
He's jumping quick.
So he had a great week, and then he's been on bye this week. He might still be available in your league.
Right. Take a look.
He's going to be a heavy target in the Chiefs offense. So.
The other wide receiver that I had circled was Devon Vele. And he is a massive hit or miss dude. So
he's been inactive like damn near every game this year.
That's right.
Yeah.
He has a real hard time staying healthy. But when he's in there, he's put up numbers. He's put up over 10 points the 2 times he's played.
Yeah.
So if he's if you're looking for somebody and you're desperate on the wide receiver end, I would watch to make sure he's healthy. Looks like he's healthy right now, and if he is, he's probably going to get double digits.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's the thing. Noah Brown pretty close. He gets like 9 points every time. He's going to be home against Carolina, which, again, not a bastion of defense, just gave up 40 points last week. So you could do worse than Noah Brown if you need another wideout, and if Douglas is already gone. Take a look at him. And I've been talking about him for a while. I mean, getting the number 2 of Jaden Daniels wideout.
It's not bad.
Because if it's not Scary Terry, he's looking at him.
Yep.
And that's just what it is. So those are some other ones you can kind of put on your list. Look at your radar. Throw in some low bids. You're not gonna have to go top dollar for these guys either. That's kind of why they're good. You can say you can save some
dollar
of
or
money.
two might snag the right.
Put some of those dollar bids in there. I'm telling you, sometimes it's amazing who you can get for $1.
Absolutely. All right, so I think we're gonna jump. We're gonna switch up a little bit. So we are kind of slow rolling out of our Kansas City podcast just because the Royal season's over and the Chiefs had a bye.
Yeah,
so not much to do on that one. So we're gonna incorporate our gambling picks into this
right.
episode.
So if you're only watching the Kansas City side, or if you're only watching the Guillotine side of the podcast, then you probably haven't seen these picks yet. But every week we make picks. If you'd like to put a little wager on the game, as some of us do,
make it a little more interested.
Make it a little more interesting, a little friendly wager. Do not bet more than you have, please. Only bet what you can use for entertainment purposes.
That you can afford to.
That's right. Correct. Assume you're going to lose it, unless you're betting with us, and then you always win. So maybe not. We've had a very mediocre season for us, which means we're due for a run.
Very slow start.
What are we at, Prue, for the season? Last week we were 2-2.
10, 13, and 1 overall, which is not fantastic.
This is the slowest start we've had in a few years, so I think we're due for some heaters on this week.
But across the league, it's kind of been that way. I mean, last week, for example, all the favorites won. Like if you had that on your bingo card, good for you. Like no one has that except for that guy in Vegas who took 10 favored teams and won a truckload. Good for him, but that's not usually what it's going to be. No. So I'm going to rehash what our picks were last week, and then we'll go into this week's. So last week, our picks that were slam dunks, baby. There's going to be 4. We're going to go to the bank. I started this off with a sure thing, baby. Points, I had Jacksonville plus 2.5 against Chicago in London. And, man, again, 29 minutes and 40 seconds in that game. It's 7-3. And Jacksonville has outplayed them the entire first half. Mm-hmm. Right at the very end, big play, and then Kmet gets in for a touchdown. So the Bears go up 14-3. Like, whatever. That's not that bad. Little did I know there'd be 4 dropped touchdowns by Jacksonville that game. Trevor Lawrence can't throw and catch on this team. It is just not good. So they end up getting just fleeced in the second half. So that 14-3 that seemed like, all right, we'll get the ball back. Nah, man, they lost 35-16. So lost our Patushis on that one to start us off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
And then we had Chisholm, who got us back going the right way. So Detroit, he had his – just kind of go through that one with us. So you had Detroit -3. Why did you take Detroit -3 and choose to ladder the bejesus out of it?
So I've lived in Dallas now for going on 13 years. And I get to watch the Dallas Cowboys hysteria and hear all of the background on the weekly radio shows. And if there's one thing I know about this Dallas Cowboys team, it's that after they have a big win, they will just take a massive turd the next week. It is just like clockwork. I mean, and I've noticed this trend for a while, but I haven't been as aggressive betting on it as I should be. And so I said, the next time Dallas wins a big game, I'm going to do that. And they won a big game on the road at Pittsburgh, which we all know Pittsburgh's not that good. But it was a big game for Dallas, and they won. It's historic rivalry. Touchdown. Last second, everyone was like, Dak is back, baby. Dak is back. And I'm like, okay, here comes the turd burger. So
cha-ching, cha-ching.
I bet Detroit -3, and then I took him at -5.5. Then I took him at -10.5, and that's all my sportsbook would let me do. I could have taken them all the way to -38 and still won because that's how bad the blowout was. So hopefully some of you tailed and made some money off that, as that ended up being the only thing that saved my NFL Sunday from a betting standpoint.
Yeah, that was a big one. And then Padog, you took Atlanta -6.
I liked Atlanta coming off their bye week. They had, Carolina hasn't been playing great. A lot of injuries and so forth. I didn't think they could keep up, and they did for a while. But then second half, Atlanta took it to them and ended up kind of a blowout. I think they won by 18.
Bijan had a pretty good game, really for the first time this season, like a good consistent game the whole time.
Yeah, he did.
And that was kind of nice for fantasy owners that have him. I don't have any shares of Bijan this year because I didn't have a top 3 pick, but anywhere. And then in the auction leagues, he went for a truckload that wasn't going to pay. But that was a great pick. So that got us 2-1. We're doing great. And then Lou had us at, it's just because you got so many points. New England. It's hard to beat teams that bad. And so we had New England +7. Did not work out. It kind of got out of hand quickly. Even though Drake May played pretty well, threw 3 touchdowns. He also had 2 picks, even though one wasn't really his fault. Goes off the hands, bounces in the air. It's just one of those. But it is what it is. So they lost 41-21. Wasn't even close. So we got kind of fleeced on 2 of our games we thought would be good and stay close. Turned into blowouts the wrong way for us.
Yeah.
So 2-2 last week. All right. So that's last week. We're going to go into a brighter future, though, with rainbows and unicorns.
That's right.
And that's going to be week 7's picks. And we're going to start it off right. So, Pruitt, tell us what we're going to win with on bet number 1.
So this might be a little bit of a shocker. Just going to start out with that disclaimer. But I am 4-2 so far in the young season.
That's right.
So hang with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Miami. And that seems like maybe a stretch, but let me give you some reasons why I think Miami is going to hang with and maybe even beat.
Convince the listeners, because they're here in Miami and Tyler Huntley going, this Padog is 4-2. What?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
So Indianapolis is who they play. They're in Indianapolis. Indy is getting Richardson back this week. So Flacco, despite his success over the few weeks that he was in there, is going back to the bench. Anthony Richardson's coming back in. No Jonathan Taylor this week, which is going to hurt their offense big time.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Miami does get Ashane and Mostert back this week. So I don't think Huntley will be heavily relied on. He might have to throw some wide receiver screens and other fairly safe throws, but he shouldn't have to throw the ball downfield much. They should be able to hand the ball off and have some success in the run game. And they're getting points. So in a close game that's run heavy, I like Miami.
Yeah. You stay within a field goal in your go time, baby.
That's right.
That's right. I like it.
What do you got for
us? So I've had a good season so far. What am I, Prue?
You're 4-1-1.
4-1-1. So we're gonna keep doing what I do best, and that's run to stink. And right now, the Giants stink, but they're playing another team that stinks, and the Eagles. And I've said on this podcast that I think Sirianni is not long for this world. I hope he doesn't die. Not long for this NFL world. I stand by that. I think it's going to get ugly in Philly, and I think it starts this week. I'm taking the Giants at home +3 versus Philly. I'm actually strongly considering an outright money line for that as well. But on record, I'm going to go +3. I think the Giants actually win the game.
Nice. I like it. Because really, I just hate how Philly's playing. So that's one. Yeah,
like it's just gross.
I mean, I don't feel great about that New York Giants offense.
No, me either.
Or really, their defense. But you know what? Your turd burgers keep coming up like roses.
I know.
So I feel like your picks are like mulch. They're all stinky, smelly, cow manure.
But
when you plant it, you grow beautiful flowers.
It works, right?
And
so
let's do it, baby.
Let's do it.
All right. So I am getting away. Thank God Chicago's not there for me just to want to bet against out of hatred. I'm going unemotional this week.
Okay.
Unemotional. I'm choosing to follow a team that's trending the right direction.
Okay.
That has Captain freaking Kirk at the helm. And Kirk Cousins, he may be a lot of things, but what he does is win. And he likes winning at home specifically. And Seattle is not a bad team. Geno's not a bad quarterback. But they're not real good at traveling across the country.
Nope.
And they just had a home game, so they're going to be trucking all the way to Atlanta.
That's right.
And it's -3. So Atlanta -3. All they got to do is have Youngway come home, bang a field goal at the end. Hopefully that they're tied or up one already just to make it good. So we got to win by 3. But I like Atlanta -3 this week, home against Seattle.
I like it.
That's where I'm going this week.
Seattle's
I like
lost
it.
3 games in 11 days, so they're
reeling.
Lately.
They're reeling right now, and you're right. They're a team that doesn't seem to travel well, and they're not a good team. They're kind of an enigma, and I do like Kirk in that game. I think this is a 3-for-3 week. I wish Lewis were here because it'd be a 4-for-4 week, I'm sure. But take your 3 and be super happy about the money that you make and invest it in some good things, in life. Give some back to the poor.
The guy at the corner of the cardboard sign.
Right. Give him a little something.
Mac, man. Give him a Big
right.
Mac.
Get him a little something this week.
Project around the house.
That's right. Do some good with it.
Refinish your bathroom or something.
That's all we ask. All we ask is that you do some good with it. And then, of course, if you need to Venmo us because you feel obliged, that's fine too. But
that's right. Be kind. And if you have to be kind, just don't be mean to somebody.
That's right. Absolutely.
Just be silent.
Absolutely. But we got some good going this week. I'm feeling good about our picks. And I think this is the week that we right the ship and go on one of our historic tears.
Absolutely. That'll work.
We go 3-0 this week. We'll be back to 500. And
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I did look at our lifetime. I made a separate tab in our little.
Oh, nice.
There we go.
Lifetime. Where is it?
We're probably like 80%, something like that.
We are
at least,
give or take.
Well, given the slow start this week, we're just over 50% lifetime.
Okay.
But I've got us each in there. Chiz is actually 55% lifetime.
Oh.
Heyo.
I'm 52.
And then I'm the fade guy. Don't fade me this week, though.
But so what I noticed is even though Dex is last, he's still 45%. So we're all fairly close.
It's not bad.
And I've had a rough start this year.
Yeah, you had a rough year thus far.
So as a group, we're still over 50%, which is kind of where you need to be to at least break even.
That's right. And if you do the parlays, which we do,
yeah, they pay, baby.
Then you can really make some nice money, and then you can go below 50% and still make money.
Right, 1 or 2 hits on a 4-0 week, you can.
Yeah, you pay off the rest of the months.
That's right.
For sure. Be round robbing it quickly. Round robbing those things.
Yeah. That's right. Round robin them, ladder them.
Just go nuts, baby. Go nuts.
But all within what you have to spend, of course.
Within reason. It's still fun betting $1, baby. It is.
That's right.
Yeah. $1 here and $1 there starts adding up over time. If you.
That's right.
If you win more than you lose. So.
That's right.
True story.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, wrap us up, Padon. Right. Take us out of here.
Yep. Well, thanks for joining us this week. Hopefully you have a successful week 7 in your Geo League. Hopefully we've given you something you can use to pick up a sleeper and survive one more week. That's what it's all about.
Keep your head while everyone around you is losing theirs. Yep. That's the key.
Right. The headless horseman doesn't need to show up yet.
Nope.
So be sure to like and follow if you find our podcast useful, entertaining, all those good things. We're out there on Spotify and YouTube and Instagram, all the other TikTok. So like and follow. We also want to give a shout out quickly to Scotty Morrison.
Woohoo, Scotty!
A unique track for us for the Shrewdness podcast. So anyway, thanks to him. Thanks to you guys. Good to see you. As always, we will be back next week. This is the Shrewdness signing off.